predictive programming telling us what will occur in the future, the interesting paradox of time travel, the mystery behind the true purpose of the human appendix, and the wormhole to a 2D reality reveals that The Simpsons is actual footage of a family. That's all in this explanation of the Obscure Theories Iceberg, Part 2. Hello everyone, Ariel here for the Book of Alice channel, and I want to say thank you for getting the last video to 200,000 views in under 3 weeks. I appreciate all of you guys who stuck around and subscribed waiting for this part 2, so here it is. But don't get it twisted, my boy, I will continue to post this series and a lot more of these type of theory videos, so consider subscribing if you're into that. Either way, here it goes. Microplastics will end humanity. Microplastics are fragments of any type of plastic less than 5 millimeters in length. You may have seen the memes and other news going around about microplastics being found in the human body. Because plastics degrade slowly, often over hundreds of thousands of years, microplastics have a high probability of ingestion, incorporation into and accumulation in the bodies and tissues of many organisms. And that doesn't just count for humans. The toxic chemicals that come from both the ocean and the runoff can also biomagnify up the food chain, meaning that we're consuming plastics one way or the other. But how does this affect us? And will this affect our health? Well, research and studies are finding links between microplastics and cancer. One paper made a connection between the increase in cancers found in wildlife and the microplastics they consume from our pollution. Not only that, it's also hypothesized that they're affecting hormone levels, based on experiments they've done on rats. Staring control. The average American spends over 7 hours a day staring at some sort of electronic screen. Now that's just the United States. Now imagine how many hours combined globally. This theory states that world elites are getting us accustomed to staring at screens for long periods of time, as some sort of control over the population, in order to keep us distracted from other things, otherwise known as staring control. If you take a third-person perspective view of yourself, it looks rather crazy. We're often blankly staring at something on a thin screen for hours at a time. Predictive programming. This theory poses the idea that the government integrates things in popular media in order to get the public ready for what the next big thing is, whether that be a new tech or events that will occur in the future. Some provide evidence including 9/11 predictions in cartoons, games, and advertisements. Also, The Simpsons' multiple coincidences. Yeah, it's kinda creepy to think that some of these are spot-on parallels. Some also claim that the film Cuties was allowed to be on Netflix in order to normalize predatory content. Voiceless pop star singers. This entry is in reference to pop star singers that have possibly been voice-overed by another more trained singer, also working like a ghostwriter, but instead of writing it, it's singing the lyrics. Take for example Milli Vanilli, exposed for lip singing. Milli Vanilli was a German-French R&B duo from Munich. They became one of the most popular pop acts in the late 1980s and early 1990s, with millions of records sold. However, their success turned to infamy when it was discovered that Morvan and Pilatus did not sing any of the vocals on their music releases. They even ended up returning their Grammy Award for the Best New Artist, and they could have almost gotten away with it if it wasn't for that mishap. Imagine how easy it is to pull something like this off nowadays with all the new current technology. Yeah, I wonder how many pop stars out there are lip syncing. Argentinian gnome. The Argentinian gnome was an entity allegedly caught on film in a small town in Argentina in 2008. The creature was described as having terrorized a small town, but was later revealed to be a hoax since no one else in the village ever reported seeing anything of the kind. It was most likely just rumor on the internet. Obama theories. Former US President Barack Obama has been the subject of numerous conspiracy theories. His presidency was the subject of a 2009 film, The Obama Deception, by Alex Jones, which alleged that Obama's administration was a puppet government for a wealthy elite. Another theory, which came to prominence in 2009, known as birthism, denies the legitimacy of Obama's presidency by claiming that he was not born in the United States. This theory has persisted despite the evidence of his Hawaiian birth certificate and of his birth announcements in 2 Hawaiian newspapers in 1961, though some believe that these were made after the fact. Other theories also claim that Obama, a Protestant Christian, is secretly a Muslim, and was hiding his true religion in order to be elected. Vegans/vegetarians aren't crazy. When you think of the word vegan, what do you think of? Does outspoken and obnoxious usually pop to mind? Some person crazy about animal rights, protesting in the most ridiculous way? Well, this may not have been by chance. According to some, the meat industry puts out propaganda to make vegans and vegetarians look crazy. theorizing that PETA was started by the meat industry to control the narrative by portraying vegans as extremists, as it sometimes seems like PETA does more damage to their image than build up their reputation to look more appealing. I mean, why would you purposely turn people off from your organization if you truly want change? It doesn't make sense to put out ridiculous requests like stop using anti-animal language. You're just pissing people off at that point. Gloria Ramirez. Gloria Ramirez was a woman from Riverside, California, who was dubbed the Toxic Lady or the Toxic Woman by the media when several hospital workers became ill after exposure to her body and blood. She had been admitted to the emergency department while suffering from late-stage cervical cancer. While treating Ramirez, several hospital workers fainted and others experienced symptoms such as shortness of breath and muscle spasms. 5 workers required hospitalization, one of whom remained in intensive care unit for almost 2 weeks. Shortly after arriving at the hospital, Ramirez died from complications related to the cancer. The incident was considered to be a case of mass hysteria. Denver International Airport. This may be referring to the strange artwork depicted at the site. Denver International Airport has 4 murals, all of which have been the topic of conspiracy theorists and debate. The murals are ambiguous in meaning, depicting scenes including caged animals, fires, suffering people, and a soldier with a blade and a gas mask. They have been interpreted in the past by onlookers to represent war, hope, and even the New World Order. Blue Mustang by El Paso-born artist Luis Jimenez was one of the earliest public artist commissions for Denver International Airport in 1993. The 32-foot-tall sculpture is a bright blue cast fiberglass sculpture of a horse with glowing red eyes, located between the inbound and outbound lanes of Pina Boulevard. Jimenez was killed in 2006 at age 65 while creating the sculpture itself, when a part of it fell on him and severed an artery in his leg. At the time of his death, Jimenez had completed painting the head of the Mustang. Blue Mustang was completed by others and unveiled at the airport on February 11, 2008. The statue has since been the subject of considerable controversy and has acquired the nickname Lucifer for its demonic appearance. In 2020, there was a video trying to debunk these myths, all coming directly from the airport representatives, though it seems like the comments aren't really buying it. Toxic baby food control. This theory puts forth the idea that the government and/or companies feed children toxic food, whether that be through their products and/or restaurants, not caring whether it contains something as dangerous as heavy metals or not. Overall, prioritizing revenue. Well, this one's almost 100% true. It's recently been proven that the most popular baby foods on the market all contain high levels of toxic metals, which can lead to things such as cancers and low IQ. Now, why would this even be considered to be done on purpose? Well, some believe that it's a way to keep control of the population, as they would be the easiest to control. Stoned ape. The stoned ape theory hypothesizes that the reason why the human species has evolved to the point that we're at now is because of hallucinogenic mushrooms. In his 1992 book, Food of the Gods, McKenna proposed that the transformation from humans' early ancestors, Homo erectus, to the species Homo sapiens mainly had to do with the addition of the mushroom psilocybe, consistent in the diets, an event that, according to his theory, took place in about 100,000 BCE. McKenna based his theory on the main effects or alleged effects produced by the mushroom. McKenna stated that due to the desertification of the African continent at the time, human foreigners were forced from the increasingly shrinking tropical canopy into search of new food sources. He believed that they would have been following large herds of wild cattle, whose dung harbored the insects that he proposed were undoubtedly part of their new diet, and would have spotted and started eating Psilocybe subensis, a dung-loving mushroom often found growing out of cowpats. This caused the individuals who were consuming psilocybin mushrooms to be better hunters than those who were not, resulting in an increased food supply and in turn higher rates of reproductive success. Ghost cities. Ghost cities are described as cities that vaguely appear in the sky. Often reported in China, the cities appear to be floating in the sky when they suddenly disappear. Some claim that these are simply mirages, optical illusions due to the bad air pollution in China. Others believe that they're gateways to other worlds. These videos began to surface in the early 2010s on the internet. Prism. Prism began in 2007 in the wake of the passage of the Protect America Act under the Bush administration. Prism is a code name for a program run by the National Security Agency, aka the NSA, that collects internet communications from various US internet companies like Google and Facebook. And by the internet communications, they mean your personal everyday chats that you have with friends and family, among other things. The NSA can use these Prism requests to target communications that are encrypted when they travel across the internet's backbone. Its existence was leaked 6 years later by NSA contractor and whistleblower Edward Snowden, who warned that the extent of mass data collection was far greater than the public knew and included what he characterized as dangerous and criminal activities. The disclosures were published by The Guardian and The Washington Post on June 6, 2013. Subsequent documents have demonstrated a financial agreement between the NSA's Special Sources Operations Division and Prism partners in the millions of dollars. Fake animal rescue channels. This theory states that those often viral animal rescue videos are most likely staged, and that the channel owners are cruelly treating animals for views and money, portraying themselves as good people and heroes to the public for saving the animals, but in reality, there's something really dark going on. Backwards time travel complexities. Time travel is the concept of movement between certain points in time, analogous to the movement between different points in space by an object or a person, typically with the use of a hypothetical device known as a time machine. It is uncertain if time travel to the past is physically possible, and such travel, if at all feasible, may give rise to questions of all of its paradoxes. Many in the scientific community believe that backwards time travel is highly unlikely. Any theory that would allow time travel would introduce potential problems of causality, the relationship between cause and effect. The classic example of a problem involving causality is the grandfather paradox, which involves traveling to the past and ending your grandfather's life. This would mean that your father or your mother wouldn't be born, meaning that you wouldn't have been born either, as they wouldn't have met, which also means that you wouldn't have ever existed to kill your grandfather in the first place. This is all a paradox. There's also the bootstrap paradox that questions the existence of free will, if possible. Here's an example. Let's say you go back in time and meet up with the young Steve Jobs and give him the fully fleshed out idea of an iPhone, and he goes on to create them and releases them to the public. Now, the question is, who came up with the idea for the iPhone? Was it Steve Jobs or was it you? Where did the idea originally come from in this case? Dark web honeypots. This theory states that most, if not all, of these supposed dark web illegal websites are fake and simply FBI honeypots used to catch criminals. Yeah, that hitman you tried to hire on the dark web is most likely not going to take out your enemy. Those interesting red rooms you heard about won't unlock if you pay them 5 bitcoins, and no, the website you tried to access to order an atomic bomb isn't gonna work. You're probably on some type of list now. Me equals bugs. This is referring to the theory that the government or the powers that be are trying to accustom us to eat bugs, and that the final solution to our overconsumption of meat is to replace it with bugs instead. That means instead of farms full of chickens and cows, there's going to be farming of insects. But wait, it already exists. See, the United Nations published a paper on why insects have to be the food of the future in order to fix the hunger crisis we will face, as land scarcity and climate change become a norm, claiming that crickets are nutritious and produce way less greenhouse gas emissions than cattle, with a lot less land required. So overall, bugs need to replace meat, a rather scary concept to some. Ancient astronauts. Ancient astronauts refers to a pseudoscientific hypothesis which holds that intelligent extraterrestrial beings visited Earth and made contact with humans in antiquity and prehistoric times. Proponents suggest that this contact influenced the development of modern cultures, technologies, religions, and human biology. A common position is that deities from most, if not all, religions are extraterrestrial in origin, and that advanced technologies brought to Earth by ancient astronauts were interpreted as evidence of divine status by early humans. Let's move on to the abyss. Recycling is a scam. You might be surprised to find out that most plastics are not recyclable. Even the process to recycle the ones you're able to is a labor-intensive and expensive process. Making new plastic is by far cheaper and overall more convenient. In 1970, the recycling symbol was created and popularized as the sign that a plastic was recyclable. Plastic companies, in the effort to look good in the public eye, created their own symbol that looks really similar, although it doesn't exactly mean the same thing. See, their symbol is called the resin identification code, and there's 7 of them, although only 2 of the 7 codes means that they are recyclable. But all of them carry the same logo, tricking consumers into thinking that all their containers are environmentally friendly. There's also a limit on how many times a plastic can be recycled, as the material wears down over time, meaning it's not sustainable at all. Interesting J. Epstein details. So I'm going to be referring to this pervert as simply Epstein, and use the abbreviation essay to be YouTube friendly. In 2005, police in Palm Beach, Florida began investigating Epstein after a parent reported that he had essayed her 14-year-old daughter. Epstein pleaded guilty and was convicted in 2008 by a Florida state court. He served almost 13 months in custody, but with extensive work release. He was convicted of only 2 crimes as part of a controversial plea deal, even though federal officials had identified 36 girls, some as young as 14, whom Epstein had allegedly essayed. Epstein was arrested again on July 6, 2019, on federal charges this time, for trafficking of minors in Florida and New York. He died in his jail cell on August 10, 2019. The medical examiner ruled the death a suicide, although Epstein's lawyers have disputed the ruling, and there has been significant public skepticism about the true cause of his death, or even that he died, resulting in numerous conspiracy theories, such as him being killed on purpose for having dirt on high-profile names like Gates and Prince Andrew. Both presented nervously when confronted about the allegations as well. There were also other fascinating mysteries behind his US Virgin Islands where most of these allegations took place, like the strange artwork found there, as well as the mini cameras found all throughout. Christian sun worship. Though sun worship has been used frequently as a term for pagan religions, it is in fact relatively rare. Almost every culture uses solar motifs and or hieroglyphs. Only a few cultures, some Indo-European, Egyptian, and Mesoamerican, developed their own solar religions, and some believe that its aspects were integrated into Catholicism and Christianity as a whole, explaining why we see tons of sun imagery in old Christian artwork, also explaining that Jesus' 12 apostles represent 12 constellations and the 12 zodiac signs that exist, and that Jesus represents the sun. But then again, this is all up to interpretation. Superplant apocalypse. As we progress into the future, our crops are going to evolve to deal with certain widespread pests and the changing climate due to pollution, so they'll become very resistant and strong. So who's to say that we won't eventually come to a point where we can't stop a certain crop from growing and killing other native species around it? Yeah, this theory is rather creepy. It states that a superplant apocalypse is possible due to a certain crop killing ecosystems, other varieties of vegetation, and eventually causing mass starvation due to it being a single crop with no other nutritional benefit. This would also go through the food chain, meaning that animals would suffer from this as well. The Bored Ape Conspiracy. Bored Ape Yacht Club, BAYC, or often called Bored Ape, is a non-fungible token NFT collection built on the Ethereum blockchain. The collection features profile pictures of cartoon apes that are precariously generated by an algorithm. Recently, there has been a theory going around stating that the company is ran by Nazi sympathizers. Yeah, it gets pretty interesting. Investigators have found similarities between the Bored Ape logo and the Waffen-Tokenpaf SS division of the Nazi military. Both share 18 teeth, which is a special number for Nazi sympathizers, as 18 is a cryptic reference to the Nazi leader Hitler. There's also some strange stuff going on with some of the co-founder Twitter usernames. One of them, named Emperor Tomato Ketchup, shares the same name as a controversial film that depicts graphic images of a kid throwing up the Nazi salute, and trust me, it goes deeper than that. Water is poison. This entry could have several interpretations. One theory puts forth the idea that the government is poisoning the water supply with contaminants that are known to be dangerous to humans. For example, some people think that fluoride in the water overall negatively affects us than do us any good. Although fluoride has many proven benefits for oral health by reducing dental cavities, there has been recent research that has brought doubt into the effectiveness of community water fluoridation. There's also been a study that found reduced IQ scores for children 3 to 4 years old who were exposed to fluoride in the womb, which is a pretty dark result for something that's supposed to be positive for us. The Thevoynich Manuscript. The Thevoynich Manuscript is an illustrated codex handwritten in an unknown, possibly meaningless writing system. The manuscript is named after Wilfred Voynich, a Polish book dealer who purchased it in 1912. The vellum of which it is written has been carbon dated to the early 15th century, 1404 through 1438. And the text may have been composed in Italy during the Italian Renaissance. However, despite various hypotheses, its origins and authorship are unambiguously unknown. Some of the pages are missing, with around 240 pages remaining. The text is written from left to right, and most of the pages have illustrations or diagrams. Some pages are foldable sheets of varying sizes. The Thevoynich Manuscript has been studied by many professionals and amateur cryptographers, including American and British codebreakers from both World War I and World War II. The manuscript has never been demonstrably deciphered, and none of the many hypotheses proposed over the last hundreds of years have been independently verified. The mystery of its meaning and origin has excited the popular imagination, making it the subject of study debate and speculation. The overall impression given by the surviving leaves of the manuscript is that it wasn't meant to serve as some sort of pharmacopoeia or to address topics in medieval or early modern medicine. However, the puzzling details of the illustrations have fueled many theories about the book's origin, the context of its texts, and the purpose of which it was intended for. Coochie's Key West Cafe. Shortly after the restaurant was demolished in 2009, an unnamed commenter going by many different names appeared online. This person has commented on websites all over the internet, usually with the same message, a long creepy rant about Coochie's Key West Cafe, his gorgeous wife Anita, and their amazing pie and cheeseburgers. Now, taken at face value, the comments don't seem all that bad, they're almost comical, but when you realize that there's hundreds of them, and they've been going on for almost a decade, well, that's considerably creepier. I mean, the comments themselves ramble on about nonsense and are incoherent in nature, with a few keywords repeating in every other comment. And some are found on the most obscure websites as well, which have little traffic. People theorized that it was some sort of cryptic message, a way people communicate, until they came to the literal message and concluded that it came from an actual, now closed location, Coochie's Key West Cafe, but they would come to find out that the restaurant had been closed for years. So why would the comments start to appear now? Well, some theorize that the thing behind it is not human, but rather a web crawling bot made to leave comments on random sites to appear high on the search listing. And the owner does this on purpose in order to throw off potential future employers from finding the more darker things he's involved in, like scams and such. Redemption movement. This one basically involves people who believe that they have cheat codes that could unlock a secret money owed to them by the IRS. The redemption movement is a debt-resistant movement which is primarily active in the United States and Canada. Participants allege that a secret fund is created for every citizen at birth, and that a procedure exists to redeem or reclaim this fund to pay bills. Common redemption schemes include acceptance for value, treasury direct accounts, and secured party credit kits. Such tactics are sometimes called money-for-nothing schemes, as their aim is ultimately to extract money from the government by using these secret methods. Those who participate in redemption schemes, and especially those who promote them to other people, can face criminal charges and imprisonment. Several government institutions, including the FBI, have issued warnings about the fraudulent character of redemption schemes. Flying rays. On December 3, 2004 in Mason County, witnesses reported seeing a flying manta ray. On a clear night, after a man and a woman departed Point Pleasant, the woman noticed a sudden movement in the sky over the Ohio River. It was a grayish, smooth-winged shape. The shape swooped in a figure 8 in front of the windshield and was gone in an instant. Another sighting was reported in Randolph County, near Black Fork and Blackwater River. A woman and her daughter saw a manta ray-shaped creature that glided near their car. Fake social media followers. This on face value simply means that fake social media followers exist to make someone's account look more popular than it actually is. But this could also tie back to the idea that most accounts on social media are bots to make a website or app more popping than it actually is. Take for example the whole Twitter fiasco. The Pew Research Center estimates that 2/3 of all Twitter links are posted by bot accounts, not humans, and that automated accounts are responsible for 66% of all content on Twitter, which is rather unnerving. Elon Musk even reconsidered his purchase of Twitter Inc. because of this, and ultimately canceled his purchase. Mr. Michelle Obama. For a while during the Obama administration, there were rumors and speculations that Michelle Obama was transgender, from a man to a woman. Some believe that Jonas River was killed because of her comments affirming this conspiracy.
And do you think that the country will see the United States will see the first gay president or the first woman president?
We already have it with Obama, so let's just calm down. You know Michelle is a trans.
I'm sorry, she's a what?
A transgender. We all know.
Oh my gosh.
There was also a slip-up Obama had while on air that was heavily used as evidence for this being true. This was when Obama accidentally referred to Michelle as Michael, a simple but pronounced hiccup. It used to be found on YouTube until most, if not all, of the clips were mysteriously taken down. There is this clip though where he speculated to almost say Michael instead of Michelle. Take a listen.
President, does anything scare him?
You know, well, when Michelle's mad, I get worried.
Companies and government union suppression. If you don't know, a labor union is an organization of workers who work on maintaining or improving work conditions. They strive to defend and be the voice of the everyday worker by arguing for better wages and benefits. This theory states that governments and companies don't benefit from unions at all, so they intentionally suppress their popularity and the fact that it's completely legal to have. Take for example the Amazon situation and their campaign to stop the unionization of workers, as well as other companies. The outside of space. So we have Earth, we have the atmosphere that has layers, and we have the Milky Way galaxy, and we have almost never-ending space. So what's outside of that? Is there an outside of space and dark matter? Yeah, that's what this theory tries to posit. What is outside the observable universe? Some believe that space is infinite and that it goes on forever. Others think there's some mystical shit out there. And others believe that far enough you'll find repeating universes paralleling our exact actions and or different timelines.
Far out.
Bug chasing. Bug chasing is the rare practice of intentionally seeking HIV infection through sexual activity, basically sleeping with a lot of people to purposely get sick, which is rather dark, as HIV can lead to AIDS, which is a life-changing disease. There are some explanations for the behavior, ranging from sexual excitement at the idea of HIV positive status, to finding a shared sense of community with other HIV positive people, to being suicidal. By 2003, the concept had entered the public consciousness after Rolling Stone published Bug Chasers, the men who long to have HIV, an article describing the practice. Though it may have also existed way back since the AIDS crisis began, it has been since mentioned and or the focus of pieces of media and popular culture. Bug chasing behavior still persists as a niche behavior, in spite of the widespread availability of effective treatments that protect against HIV transmission and otherwise unprotected sex. The precise origins of bug chasing, the pursuit of HIV infection, are largely unknown, with its inception located either at the beginnings of the AIDS crisis or closer to the 1990s, but some believe that it was a planted fake story used to bash the homosexual community at the time, as they were often blamed for the AIDS epidemic. UFO Time Travel. UFO time travel may be in reference to the theory that believes that UFOs are simply people from the future using a time machine to go back in time, proving why they're usually not disturbing anything but rather hovering and observing, most likely trying to avoid the butterfly effect. But every time they've been caught on camera or crash landed, they subtly change the future, which is almost a theory within a theory. It goes deep. Nephilim. The Nephilim are mysterious beings or people in the Hebrew Bible who are large and strong. The word Nephilim is loosely translated as giants in some translations of the Hebrew Bible, but left untranslated in others. Jewish explanations interpret them as hybrid sons of fallen angels and humans on earth. The main reference to them is in Genesis, but the passage is ambiguous and the identity of the Nephilim is disputed. According to the book of Numbers 13:33, they later inhabited Canaan at the time of the Israelite conquest of Canaan. Writer Cotton Mather believed that the fossilized leg bones and teeth discovered near Albany, New York in 1705 were the remains of Nephilim who perished in the Great Flood. Paleontologists have then identified them as mastodon remains though. Let's move on to the pit. Purposeful crazy misinformation. This entry puts forth the idea that the powers that be put out crazy conspiracy theories in order to delegitimize the ones that are potentially real. This would make sense, right? You have a conspiracy theory like Big Brother is watching our every other move, and another theory that states that cartoon characters are real inside of an alternate universe. One of them does best to discredit the rest by making conspiracy theory followers sound completely loony. The Clinton body count. The Clinton body count refers to a conspiracy theory, parts of which have been advanced by Newsmax publisher Christopher Rudy, among others, that asserts that former US President Bill Clinton and his wife Hillary Clinton have assassinated 50 or more of their associates. Such accusations have been around at least since the 1990s, when a pseudo-documentary film called The Clinton's Chronicles, produced by Larry Nicholas and promoted by Reverend Jerry Falwell, accused Bill Clinton of multiple crimes including murder. One example is the murder of Seth Rich, which occurred on July 10, 2016 at 4:20 a.m. in the Bloomingdale neighborhood of Washington, D.C. Rich died about an hour and a half after being shot twice in the back. He was murdered by an unknown perpetrator for unknown reasons, but police suspected that he had been the victim of an attempted robbery. The 27-year-old Rich was an employee of the Democratic National Committee, and his murder spawned several conspiracy theories, claiming that Rich had been involved with the leaked DNC emails in 2016. Scum Manifesto. Scum Manifesto was a radical feminist manifesto by Valerie Solanas, published in 1967. It argues that men have ruined the world and that it's up to women to fix it. To achieve this goal, it suggests the formation of Scum, an organization dedicated to overthrowing society and eliminating the male sex. The manifesto has been described as a satire or parody, especially due to its parallels with Freud's theory of femininity, though this is disputed. The term scum appeared on the cover of the first edition of Olympia Press as SCUM, and it was said to stand for Society for Cutting Up Men. Solanas objected though, insisting that it was not an acronym, although the expanded term appeared in a Village Voice ad she had written in 1967. The manifesto was little known until Solanas attempted to murder Andy Warhol in 1968, going into Andy Warhol's art studio and shooting him. This event brought significant public attention to the manifesto and Solanas herself. Some believe that the whole crazy SJW feminist movement was proof that a group of women were taking action and fulfilling what the book wanted. Fruit Machine, aka Gaydar. This one's actually got some ground in reality. The Fruit Machine was a device developed in Canada by Frank Robert Wake in the 1950s that was supposed to be able to identify gay men, derogatorily referred to as fruits. The subjects were made to view graphic images of men. The device then measured the diameter of the pupils of their eyes, the perspiration, and the pulse for a supposed erotic response. The machine was employed in Canada in the 1950s and 1960s during a campaign to eliminate all gay men from the civil service, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, and the military. A substantial number of workers lost their jobs because of this. People were first led to believe that the machine's purpose was to rate stress, which was a blatant lie though. After knowledge of its real purpose became widespread, few people volunteered for it. 5G health concerns. There's a community of people online who are heavily against the widespread use of 5G and the cell towers that are being built to support it. They claim that it slowly kills people and makes them sick, causing some to take action by starting protests and trying to destroy the cell towers themselves, claiming it increases the risk of cancer, dementia, autism, and infertility. Artificial food shortage. The food shortage conspiracy theory is a conspiracy theory which states that there's a plot to create an artificial famine, predominantly in the United States and globally. It lampoons on the idea of that the infrastructure of the food supply is under attack by outside forces in order to manufacture a famine, a way to strike fear into the population and keep them under control. Banned.video/BitChute. These are basically websites where a lot of people ran to when they were banned off YouTube, and where some now find their conspiratorial content. For example, Alex Jones ran to banned.video, and of course he's got his own website to post videos on, when he was completely banned from YouTube and other social medias. As for BitChute, they have a more relaxed policy compared to YouTube. You could find tons of flat earth and spaces fake videos on there. There's little to no regulation, most likely explaining its entry. Medical miracles. Although the term can have different definitions, a medical miracle generally refers to an unexpected recovery despite a dire prognosis. Frequently, the phrase has a religious connotation and is used to describe a supernatural or paranormal healing. Take for example 4-year-old Noah's story. Since a baby, he had suffered multiple infections. After a test, they found that he had an immune deficiency syndrome, his body not being able to remember viruses to fight them off the next time, meaning he would regularly catch the same infections. After being in the hospital for 5 days with a large breakout of hives which left his skin blue and almost being put on a feeding tube, Noah woke up feeling energetic and wanting food. His disease vanished without any explanation. Or take 33-year-old Serena's case of colon cancer, one of the deadliest cancers you could have. Afraid that she was going to leave her son before watching him grow up, she would tell herself affirmations that she would live and have her 2 tumors healed, often praying alongside missionaries. A day after having a supernatural experience, she went into the Mayo Clinic and found that the tumors had completely disappeared, with no trace of any cancer within her body, after CT scans and blood work. Yoga is a New World Order ritual. This entry is basically claiming that yoga is a satanic New World Order ritual, and is overall contributing to this New Age philosophy perpetuated in the media. Some claim that yoga postures are offerings to the 33 million Hindu gods, and that once you do these breathing techniques and postures as required by yoga, you're accepted by the gods, which will in turn bring unbeknownst curses upon you and your family. Cointelpro. This theory was actually proven to be true. Cointelpro is a series of covert and illegal projects actively conducted by the United States Federal Bureau of Investigation, aka the FBI, aimed at surveilling, infiltrating, discrediting, and disrupting domestic American political organizations. FBI records show Cointelpro resources targeted groups and individuals the FBI deemed subversive, including feminist organizations, the Communist Party USA, anti-Vietnam War organizers, activists of the civil rights movements, and Black Power movements like Martin Luther King, the Nation of Islam, and the Black Panther Party. The FBI has used covert operations against domestic political groups since its inception. However, covert operations under the official Cointelpro label took place between 1956 and 1971. Many of the tactics used include discrediting targets through psychological warfare, smearing individuals and groups using forged documents and planting false reports in the media, harassments, wrongful imprisonment, illegal violence, and assassination, according to some. All this supposedly being done in the name of protecting national security, preventing violence, and maintaining the existing social and political order. Here's a popular example. Beginning in 1969, leaders of the Black Panther Party were targeted by the Cointelpro and neutralized by being assassinated, imprisoned, publicly humiliated, or falsely charged with crimes. The Overton Bridge. The Overton Bridge is a bridge in Scotland that for some reason or another compels dogs to jump off of it. Since the 1950s, numerous reports of dogs either falling or jumping from the bridge have been reported, with the incident often resulting in serious injury or death upon landing on the rocks some 50 feet below. The bridge is nicknamed the Dog Suicide Bridge. Various explanations for these deaths have been proposed, ranging from natural accidents to paranormal activity. Unfavorable SemiCircle. Unfavorable SemiCircle is the name of a YouTube channel created in March 2015, which garnered attention for the high volume and unusual nature of the published videos. The videos often displayed abstract, pixelated images. In some cases, they show just a single dot in a field of solid brown. Some videos omit sound, while others feature distorted sounds. Due to the volume of the uploads and the odd nature of the videos, observers and people around the internet started to take notice. Eventually, a small community on Reddit formed to investigate the channel. Speculation as to what the channel might be used for includes it being used to test against the copyright system on YouTube to see how and why it's triggered. A piece of evidence could be in the title of the channel. The logo carries a semicircle in the middle and a circle around that, making out the copyright logo. A pretty scary sign for YouTubers. The channel had over 80,000 videos posted and a BBC article written about them just before it being terminated by YouTube. Cartoons are real. This one's a bit wacky. This theory puts forth the idea that there is a wormhole or an alternate universe in which cartoons such as The Simpsons, Family Guy, or The Amazing World of Gumball are real living beings, and that the idea behind these characters by their creators were inspired by past life memories from other dimensions. There's also the other theory that states we're watching real life beings in cartoons simply in a 2D reality, explaining why there's a never-ending supply of Simpsons episodes. Purpose of dreaming. One widely held theory about the purpose of dreams is that they help you store important memories and things you've learned, get rid of unimportant memories, and sort through complicated thoughts and feelings. Research shows that sleep helps store memories better. If you learn new information and sleep on it, you'll be able to recall it better than if asked to remember the information without the benefit of sleep. Some also believe that sleep is an alternate reality, a different dimension that you slowly creep into when entering deep sleep, explaining why they trigger great emotional response, as they almost feel real. Consciousness after death. Consciousness after death is a common theme in society and culture in the context of life after death. Scientific research has established that the physiological functioning of the brain, the cessation of which defines brain death, is closely connected to mental states. However, many believe in some form of life after death, which is a feature of many religions. Neuroimaging correlation studies cannot determine whether neural activity plays a casual role in the occurrence of mental processes, thinking and imagining, because correlation doesn't imply causation, and they cannot determine if the neural activity is either necessary or sufficient for such process to occur. The closest thing we have through the lens of being dead comes in the form of NDE, near-death experiences, where some people recall having unique visions when nearly dead. A common experience when dying is people seeing a white glowing light right after passing out, and then what precedes is a unique experience. Some people see a godlike figure talking to them, a dead relative telling them that it's not their turn to leave the earth yet, and or leaving their body and seeing it in a third-person perspective. The Georgia Guidestones. The Georgia Guidestones were a set of granite monuments that stood in Elbert County, Georgia, United States from 1980 to 2022. They were 19 feet 3 inches tall and made from 6 granite slabs weighing a total of 237,000 pounds. The structure was sometimes referred to as an American Stonehenge. According to the writing, the monument's creators believed that there was going to be an up-and-coming social, nuclear, or economic calamity, and they wanted the monument to serve as a guide for humanity in the world, which would exist after it. They initially garnered little controversy, but they ultimately became the subject of conspiracy theories, which alleged that they were connected to Satanism. The motive and creators remain unknown. Though on the morning of July 6, 2022, the Guidestones were heavily damaged in a mysterious bombing, and they were dismantled later that day. Jade Helm. The Jade Helm 15 conspiracy theories were based on the Jade Helm 15 United States military training exercises, which took place in multiple US states between July 15th and September 15th, 2015. The exercise, which involved 1,200 personnel from 4 of the 5 branches of the US military, was designed to train soldiers in skills needed to operate in overseas combat environments, including maneuvering through civilian populations. The announcements of these training exercises raised concerns and generated conspiracy theories that the exercise was a hostile military takeover. The conspiracy theories seem to emanate from the map shown here from the US Army Special Operations Command, which divides the region into 4 colors, with 2 hostile states, 2 permissive states, 2 states leaning one way or the other, and California divided. Jim Shia wrote that the conspiracy theories included a psychological operation aimed at getting people used to seeing military forces on the streets, so they do not realize when an invasion actually takes place. An international operation aimed to seize people's guns. Recently closed Walmarts used by the military to stockpile supplies for Chinese troops who will be arriving to disarm Americans was also a prominent theory, and a military plan to round up political dissidents and remove key political figures who may be against the imposition of martial law. Other theories have described Jade Helm 15 as a secret plot to impose martial law, confiscate firearms, invade Texas, and institute total population control. Thank you for watching this far. I appreciate all of you guys, and thank you for almost getting me to 100,000 subscribers. I can't wait to reach that. Anyways, be sure to check out my other videos, but other than that, I'm tired. I'm gonna go eat. See you guys later. Peace.